If you take these Power 9 and think of how you can practice more of these aspects of healthy living in your daily life, you can create a blue zone within your home or even within yourself. And eventually, the power of social belonging and our social connections can extend that to our community, and we can sort of see a blue zone happen from the inside out.
Blue zones are regions around the world where the healthiest, oldest people on Earth live. In addition to diet, exercise, and rest, other lifestyle and social factors may contribute to their longevity. K-State Research and Extension, Adult Development and Aging Specialist Erin Yelland says 9 healthy lifestyle habits shared by those living in blue zones have been identified as the key to longer, healthier lives. On today's Sound Living, Principles for Living Longer. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wichman. Not only are people in these regions living longer, Yelland says that studies show they experience less disease, disability, and overall mental decline.
So the Blue Zones topic really started coming out when it was featured in National Geographic. And there's a researcher by the name of Dan Buettner who went to these blue zones and really started recognizing that these people are indeed living longer and healthier lives. And he really started asking the question of why. But really it all stems from how are these people living these longer and healthier lives, and what are the common denominators that they all experience to help them do that?
And he looked at places in California, Italy, Costa Rica, Greece, and Japan. So I guess maybe the only thing that might be surprising is that there's something from the U.S. in there.
Yes, so Loma Linda, California is indeed a blue zone, but this one is a little bit tricky because there is a group of Seventh-day Adventists, which is a religious group that lives in Loma Linda. And it's really this religious group and their practices that have made Loma Linda a blue zone. But what we have found in the other 4 blue zones across the world, so in Japan, Costa Rica, Italy, and Greece, is that it's a combination of course, the people that live there and the practices that they have on a daily basis, but the environment is also helping them to live a healthier lifestyle.
He's kind of boiled this down to 9 attributes, maybe?
Yeah, so Dan Buettner has identified what we call the Power 9. And so these are 9 attributes of healthy living that are commonly practiced across these 5 blue zones within the world. And many of these may not surprise you, but some of them will.
Let's run through them. One of them that he talks about is to move naturally.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about moving naturally is the naturally component of it. So we all know that exercise is incredibly important to our overall health and wellness. But what Dan Buettner has found is that within these blue zones, people aren't going to the gym and engaging in CrossFit or running marathons. Instead, they move naturally throughout their day. Perhaps that means they walk to the grocery store or they garden every day. Whatever they're doing, they're moving naturally. You won't see escalators and elevators and those sorts of things in some of these areas because people naturally are going to take the stairs. We've seen in some of these areas as well that people will continue to garden and work their land well until their 90s. And you'll see that these aren't people who are living in necessarily flat areas. And so every morning there's a wonderful story of a 90-year-old man who goes and climbs up the mountain to tend to his garden every day. So that sort of natural movement is really key across all 5 of these blue zones.
Another is to know your purpose. So like you say, the man who gets up early in the morning knows that he's going to climb that mountain and take care of the garden.
Yeah, so having that purpose of why you wake up in the morning, what is your reason for being? That is really a common thread across these blue zones and really helps to give people that, jolt that they need in the morning, that reason why they're living their life and why they want to live a healthier life and enjoy what life they have.
Along that same line, there is what they call the downshift, which is kind of a way to reduce stress.
Yeah, so the downshift is a really interesting concept because in America, we tend to talk a lot about mindfulness and stress relief and all these sorts of things that we can do to bust up the stress in our lives. But this is a natural practice for them, and the natural practice can be different for everyone, and it varies across the blue zones. So we'll see that people in Okinawa, Japan will take a minute each day to remember their ancestors. That's the way that they downshift. Then we'll also see that the Seventh-day Adventists in Loma Linda, California, pray, and that is their downshift, and that is their way of managing stress and managing the stress of the day. We'll also see that in Ikaria, Greece, they will take a nap or have this sort of afternoon siesta of sorts. And then Sardinians in Italy will do a happy hour. So all of them across these 5 blue zones have some sort of practice that help them to naturally relieve stress. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're being cognizant of it or that they're aware that they're doing this practice to relieve stress, but instead this is just naturally built into their day.
And it's unusual that it doesn't necessarily have to be a long downtime. You said some of those only just a minute or two.
Absolutely. It doesn't really take a whole lot to take a moment for ourselves and to practice that downshift experience. It doesn't mean that you need to set aside a couple hours a day. Really, it can be as simple as a minute or two.
Another rule is the 80% rule, and that deals with how we eat.
So the 80% rule is really interesting, and it's a really good concept, and it's something that we have perhaps heard about in the health and wellness news before, but we've just never called it the 80% rule. So the 80% rule means that you should stop eating when you feel that you are 80% full. So one thing to recognize is that it takes a while for our brain and our stomach to communicate. And so sometimes, and this is particularly prevalent on Thanksgiving, right, we'll completely stuff ourselves and you eat so much that then you have that overfull feeling or that stuffed feeling. So one way to prevent that and to prevent overeating in general is to stop eating when you're 80% full. So not only does this help to prevent you from overeating, but then you're also helping to shave off some extra calories that you would normally consume that your body really does not need.
And he also found what he calls the plant slant, which deals with how you eat.
Yeah, so I love this plant slant sort of phrase because it reminds us that we need to slant our diet into more of a plant-based diet. We know that eating more beans and nuts and green leafy vegetables and all of these sorts of things are the cornerstone of most diets of people who live long and healthy lives. They're not eating a whole lot of meat, and when they do, it's generally fish or pork. And that's really interesting to me because it shows a lot about the power of food and what we're putting in our body and how we choose to nourish ourselves.
And they are getting a variety still. Just because we say plant slant doesn't mean they're eating the same thing every day.
Absolutely not. And so what we see in these blue zones is that people will eat with the seasons. So they're continually eating things from their garden or from the local market that is in season and is naturally grown in their area. So they are including a lot of variation within their diet. One thing I like to say when I'm talking about healthy eating, and particularly in regard to fruits and vegetables, is the concept of eating the rainbow, meaning that you're eating different colored fruits and vegetables. And if you go to your local market, you will see that there's oftentimes a whole variety of colors. So what type of vegetable haven't you tried yet that's maybe a different color from a green pea, for example? So eating the rainbow is a concept that many people within blue zones will practice without even realizing it.
One thing that we've seen a lot of studies on is the fact that an occasional glass of wine, red wine in particular, is good for you.
Yeah, and the research continues to show that if you have a healthy relationship with alcohol, 1 glass of red wine a day can have really positive health benefits. But it extends well beyond, the chemicals and the good things that are in the wine that are actually physically helping your body. But what we have seen across the blue zones is that having a glass of red wine in the evening can be particularly beneficial because most of the time they're not doing it alone. They're doing it with friends or family. They're doing it perhaps out and about in town at a restaurant, or they're with other people and they're engaging in some social activity. So this combination of a healthy drink combined with the social interaction and engagement and vitality that you get from being around other people can be really beneficial for your health.
Another of the Power 9 healthy lifestyle habits is family first, and I think that kind of speaks for itself, but it's talking about a thriving family, not just being around your family.
Yeah, so this concept of a thriving family is very important. So people who are around family members, and family members doesn't include just blood relatives. You know, many of us have friends who we think are family members or who we treat them as family members. So being around people, whether it is your blood relatives, your friends, your community members, is incredibly important because they provide a solid foundation on which for you to grow, but they also provide stability and support and all sorts of good things that we want from these positive relationships in our lives.
I think along that same line then is also the fact of belonging, and this kind of deals with more of a faith-based aspect.
So we see in all 5 of the blue zones that people will identify to some degree with faith or with belonging to some sort of faith-based community. But what is particularly important to realize is that denomination doesn't matter. It really does not seem to matter across the research. What instead seems to be more important is that we have this sense of community and a sense of belonging and support and social network that comes along with these faith-based communities, rather than really the experience of the denomination or the specific beliefs themselves.
The final attribute is called right tribe. What do we mean by that?
So right tribe really means that the people that you are around have the power to support a healthy lifestyle and an overall good feeling about your life and how you are able to progress through life successfully. So if you are around people who support you and who eat healthy foods when you're eating healthy foods and who really want to live in this type of, really prime environment for aging, that's going to help you age well as well. So we will see in these blue zones that the right tribe extends basically to the entire community. So everyone is in this together. We're all supporting one another. And overall, our environment is supporting healthy living. So we see that when you have people around you who are also making healthy choices, but that your environment also supports those choices, that it's a lot easier for you to make better choices in your life. And you have the support around you to keep doing that all throughout your entire lifespan.
So I think I'm hearing you say that we can basically create our own blue zone if we want?
Absolutely. And there are many initiatives going on across the country that are tied to this blue zone effect. So for example, in Fort Worth, Texas, where I visited a couple of weeks ago, they have a wonderful blue zone opportunity going where they are working to make their city more blue zone-like. So they are making strides to help make their community healthier and help to encourage and support people living within their community to live healthier lives. But this isn't just happening in Fort Worth. This is really happening all across the country. And it doesn't have to happen or start within your community. It can really start within you and within your home. So if you take these Power 9 and think of how you can practice more of these aspects of healthy living in your daily life, you can create a blue zone within your home or even within yourself. And eventually, the power of social belonging and our social connections can extend that to our community, and we can sort of see a blue zone happen from the inside out.
And you've been sharing some of these ideas with Extension folks across the state?
Yeah, so you may have heard previously of a program called Keys to Embracing Aging. And Keys to Embracing Aging is a curriculum that is offered through K-State Research and Extension and in several other states across the country that really focuses on healthy living across the lifespan. So it includes many of these Power 9 types of topics. But within K-State Research and Extension, we are always talking about how we can help people to live healthier lives. So if you have questions or ideas about how to live a healthier life or how to help your community support healthy living, talking with your local K-State Research and Extension agents can be incredibly beneficial.
That's K-State Research and Extension Adult Development and Aging Specialist Erin Yelland. You can learn more about the keys to embracing aging by contacting your local Extension office or visiting www.ksre.ksu.edu. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wichman, and this is the K-State Radio Network.